What's up, YouTube? What's up, YouTube? It's your boy back with another one. Guys, in today's video, we're going to talk about Southern Africa, the SADC region, and what's happening in Mozambique. Let me know what you think about this topic in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. You know how we do. Holla. People, SADC, our region, our countries, everyone thought that Southern Africa is one of the most peaceful regions on the continent. And for a very long time, it kind of was, right? No regional wars. I mean, there's been internal strife in countries, protests, and, government brutality, police brutality, and military being used in some cases to quell opposition parties and rallies and stuff like that. But other than that, I mean, Southern Africa has never been rocked by anything dangerous, like, oh, for a very long time. I mean, Southern Africa has known peace for the longest of times, to be honest. I mean, I think the last time there was massive regional chaos, I think, was during the times of apartheid. I mean, I can remember, okay, not so long ago, there was the Lesotho, where South Africa had to go and intervene. But that didn't cause like a regional conflict at all. It's not like what's happening in the DRC. I mean, that's like massive. It's not like what's happening in Burkina Faso and the Sahel region, or like Boko Haram is causing in Cameroon and neighboring countries. None of that. It's not like what was happening on the East Coast with the pirates and in Somalia, and Southern Africa has been relatively quiet. So when news first emerged of jihadist groups in Mozambique, that was like a shocker. I was like, what? And from there, Mozambique has just become a hotbed of conspiracies and inner struggles now. Because all of a sudden now, elections are held, and ruling party FRELIMO doesn't want to give up power. Now, today's topic is all about political parties, legacy parties that do not want to abdicate, that do not want to give up power, that want to remain in power no matter what. Now, let's talk about the ANC, ZANU, FRELIMO, and SWAPO. People, these parties, for some reason, yes, they share struggle history. Yes, they've been interconnected during the struggle. I totally get that. Friendships were formed, bonds were formed, business partnerships were formed, political alliances were formed. And it totally makes sense because you're fighting against an oppressive government. But now that you get into power, you now become the oppressive government. How does that make sense? I mean, when you fight for a reason or a cause, or when you fight for a people, you said in your manifesto, a better life for all. You said freedom and all these um, nice things that you just wanted the people to hear, but you didn't actually mean it. Now, let's backtrack, track. Let's go to Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, ruling ZANU PF party, been ruling since 1980. FRELIMO has been ruling since 1975. Guys, these are historic artifacts. These fossils. These are museum institutions. These are, it's even, there's no more words to describe the length of time these parties have served their countries. And these parties have long reached their expiration dates, and they refuse to realize that. Now, what do the ANC, ZANU PF, FRELIMO, and SWAPO have in common? They're refusing to give up power. So, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Let's start with the good things. The good thing about having parties like your legacy parties, like all these parties I just mentioned, in power for so long, is that they come with an experience of how to run countries, right? You can't deny that. They have the knowledge, the know-how that they picked up from the previous government that they then perfected and all that, you know? So we can talk about experience. That's why most countries have old presidents and old leaders in their cabinets because they have years of experience, right? As opposed to having young leaders and young ministers that are fresh off the bat, that know nothing, but anything, like everything else, can be taught, can be learned, can be passed down, right? Now, we're not saying, I mean, the EFF, for example, they could possibly rule, but remember, countries, people are wired in such a way that we believe elders, we believe older people because we assume they have experience, we assume they have the wisdom. You see what I mean? The EFF, with all its right intentions and everything, for example, wouldn't really stand a chance against older, more established parties simply because of the age difference. Age is a perception. People always look at someone who's like 40 years old and be like, nah, I don't think he will work. Look at Barack Obama, for example. Barack Obama was strategic in picking a running mate like Joe Biden, who had at that time, I think about 40 years of experience in political. So you, they took a young upstart and paired him with a veteran, a seasoned veteran. So people could see that, okay, knowledge being transferred. But you cannot see two young leaders just coming out of the blue. Normally, if that is done, I would think normally it will be done by a coup, it will be done by some sort of a hostile takeover, you know what I mean? Or some sort of a default, like, but I've never seen I've never seen a country or an election where an entire cabinet is all under the age of 40. I haven't seen that anywhere, right? I'm not saying there isn't. I'm saying I haven't seen. I've seen a young leader, but surrounded by older people. I've never seen an entire cabinet made up of just young people. I haven't seen that anywhere, right? So these legacy parties that do not want to relinquish power, is it because now that it's only them who know how to run the countries, or is it because they want to milk what's left of the country? Okay. Now let's go backtrack. ZANU PF takes over in Zimbabwe in 1980 or 1979, I think, somewhere there. 1979 they take over, and then officially in 1980 they take over, right? They took over what was once a beautiful country, the breadbasket of Africa, right? For a while, everyone thought things were going well there because they knew how to run the country, not knowing that it was just from the get-go, it was being mismanaged. But the problem was that you wouldn't notice it because the country was well managed before independence. So those strong systems that were put in place were hard to break down immediately. That were gradually breaking down. See, fast forward to South Africa. The systems that were put in place are so strong that even up to this very day, 30 years later, most of those systems are still in place. And that's still what's keeping the country going. Because if it was inheriting a country with no set structures, I can guarantee you now that South Africa would have fallen off the bandwagon in 96 already. Or, yeah, give or take 5 years, even less. Even less. The only reason that's stopping South Africa from really dipping under, from really going totally to the ground, is the strong systems that were put in place. Like, for example, South Africa has a very strong banking system. That's very hard to break down because it's not a government institution that you can just, you understand what I'm saying? So it's hard to dismantle that. The Reserve Bank itself is not even government owned. So that alone also cannot be dismantled. I mean, it's not like in Liberia where they took the Reserve Bank and Charles Taylor moved the Reserve Bank to his house, to his. How do you move the Reserve Bank of a country to your house? How do you do that? That just shows that was Liberia. This Liberia did not have a strong system in place prior to Charles Taylor. And that's why the country just descended into chaos after chaos after chaos. Same like Somalia. Somalia always just didn't have a strong, it's regarded as a what? A collapsed country, a failed state. And that's what you get if there's no prior systems put in place that can keep a country together. Right. Now we're talking about FRELIMO. Same thing. Systems were put in place by the Portuguese, which are still in place to this very day. That's what's keeping Mozambique afloat. Gradually being eroded, gradually being there, but those systems are still there. You see what I mean? Now, my whole point of coming to this is there's elections that were held in Mozambique now, and the incumbent opposition has voiced its opposition to the elections, and I don't know if it's people are people are protesting because they feel like Frelimo lost, but Frelimo won't go. So now there's chaos in the country. Now, why am I bringing this up? SADC, right? Guess who's the chairman? Guess which country is the chairperson of SADC now? Frelimo's best friend, ZANU. People are saying SADC has to act whenever a member disrespects the rules and laws of SADC. Mozambique's Frelimo is now disrespecting the laws. Prior to Mozambique, Robert Mugabe's ZANU-PF was disrespecting the laws of SADC. South Africa was the chairman, and they did nothing to get rid of Mugabe. Now, Frelimo is disrespecting the laws. ZANU-PF is the chairman. ZANU-PF is mum on the issue, and they're supposed to be acting. So, do you see a pattern of camaraderie, of cadreship? I mean, who gets to bear the brunt of two friends siding for each other and not calling each other out? It's the people, right? And that's what's happening in Mozambique now. I mean, everyone is looking to SADC to say, hey, what you going to do? SADC is looking at Zimbabwe and saying, hey, you're the chairman. What should we do? And the chairman is looking away and saying, I didn't see anything. Didn't see nothing. Didn't hear nothing. Didn't speak nothing. So it's nothing. How does Southern Africa stop itself from falling into the trap of other regional blocs by avoiding this trap of falling into regional conflict? We know that regional conflicts can be avoided if the right minds sit around the table and iron out their differences diplomatically. If that fails, the UN has to intervene. At this point, the UN is saying they cannot intervene because it's not a genocide in Mozambique. Okay, cool. So the UN is not going to intervene because it's not a genocide. So what is SADC doing? Because SADC is not the regional bloc. And ZANU PF, the chairman of the bloc at the current state or the current term, is mum on the issue. So what's the way forward? For me, I feel like legacy parties need to go. Legacy parties should not even be entertained in politics anymore. If legacy parties want to participate in political elections, they should rebrand, get younger people to represent them, but they need to come with a new way of thinking and do away with the old guard. That's my feeling on the issue. Because this friendship buddy buddy thing, it's not working for the region. We need to call out the people that need calling out, and we cannot defend wrong when wrong is hurting the masses. That's my take on it. Next, we get into the good, the positives of these legacy parties, which honestly speaking, I don't think there's any good. I don't think there's any positives of legacy parties left because I think they've overstayed their welcome. Holla.